This year marks the 200th anniversary since the abolition of the slave trade in Britain. Until now, though, it's always been assumed that it was only port cities like Liverpool and Bristol that were involved in the trade. But Inside Out has uncovered new evidence which suggests businessmen in Birmingham may not have only profited from slavery, but also had a hand in supporting it. We asked award-winning musician Soweto Kinch to find out just how the city he grew up in may have played a role in enslaving his ancestors.
How well do you know your roots, who you are, where you come from? My ancestors were stolen from Africa, forced onto slave ships and sent thousands of miles to an uncertain future in the West Indies. But this is Birmingham, the city I grew up in, the city that I know. Or at least I thought I did. I didn't think that my history and Birmingham's history were in any way connected. But there's an emerging school of thought which suggests otherwise.
Birmingham was a worldwide centre for industry and innovation. The city got rich from foundries and factories that sold to the world. But how much of its success was based on one of the most shameful chapters in British history?
Several million Africans were shipped from West Africa mostly to the New World plantations in the Caribbean, maybe up to 20, 30 million. A third of those people died on the ships going over, another third died on the plantations within a few months of arriving because of new tropical diseases, and many died and perished because of just sheer hard work, the whole brutality of the plantation system. You know, it was a nasty, it was almost an unimaginable way of treating people as cattle, as chattel, as goods, you know, to be bought and sold, with no sense of their humanity and therefore their basic human rights.
And these are the instruments of that inhumanity.
This is a replica of a neck iron. It was used to carry slaves through the Middle Passage, to restrain them together. They'd snatch children and adults, and this was one that would be used on a child. They'd be held together with this chain and taken on a ship to the West Indies. When they got to these plantations, they'd be given perhaps something like this to clamp their feet together, to clamp their shins and their ankles together.
Chains and shackles like these were being made in Birmingham, making the city an absolute fortune.
Birmingham was the supplier, the main supplier of ironware to Africa, padlocks, chains, muzzles, all the instruments to police the slave trade, you know. And of course that made an enormous amount of money.
But this wasn't the only ironware that was making Birmingham rich. Guns were also being exported to Africa, where they were traded for people.
From the 1760s onwards, 150,000 guns on average were exported to Africa. You know, it was said that you can buy a slave with a gun. You know, Birmingham armed the slave trade.